kind of just manage it. That's fighting it for the last 2 years. It's just getting to the point where it's exhausting. Worry about it so much.
It gets to the point, doesn't it, where you're like, how long am I going to go like this for? 3 years, 5 years? When is it going to be time? You use exhausting, because that's really how I felt. It gets exhausting to the point where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't need this holding me back.
Was that kind of the thoughts that you had?
It got to the point where, for me, and I think it's important to identify these things. So that's why I asked you about maybe going out, or like you said, with your job. The big ones for me were, I was studying at the time and I'd paid to study. And so I was going to these classes, and I knew that I used to love going to them. I used to love going there. I used to love talking to everyone. I'd always be up at the front of the class doing the presentations first, putting my hand up, all of that stuff, you know, before the hair loss. And then when I was losing my hair, like, my feelings of being self-conscious like took all that away from me. I didn't want any attention on me, and used to turn up late, so I had to sit at the back, and I couldn't concentrate, because if there was people behind me, I would think like, oh, have they seen it? Like, are they looking at it? Like, are they talking about me losing my hair? And I was a very social person usually, and I didn't want to socialize. I didn't want to like talk to strangers or look at them in the eye or whatever, right? And I was just like, I don't want to keep doing this. You know, I knew I was never going to pay to get surgery, cosmetic surgery done. And I knew that there was nothing I could do on this planet that was ever going to get me to the point where I'd never realized I was losing my hair, you know, because I was losing my hair. So I knew at some point in my life, even if it was like 40 years old, 50 years old, I was going to be the guy with no hair, you know, I was going to be bald. That gray cloud period of my life, I don't want to drag that out for the next 10 years by trying and hoping and praying and doing whatever I can to try and stop this or slow it down or hide it, you know. I just knew I was never going to be fully comfortable in that position. And I wanted to do something that I wanted to be fully comfortable, where I didn't have anything to hide anymore. A big thing for me was, are people going to notice? That was the thing that I was so afraid of, is people noticing or asking me about it or something. And so that meant I had to always try to cover it up, you know, try to cover my bald spot up, whether that was like styling it all the time, or the way I positioned myself, the way I was walking down the street like this, staring at the ground to try and have my crown like as high as I could. That was my way of trying to make sure no one would kind of see, because I felt ashamed. I felt sad and ashamed and just not confident, because I was a guy now losing my hair, and so I wanted to hide that, you know. And then when I decided like, I don't want to hide this anymore, it's stopping me from enjoying my life, I was like, I'm going to shave my head, you know. And then when I said like, I'm going to be that guy, I want to be that guy who accepts it and loves himself, you know, and I just want to get back to enjoying myself, enjoying my life. When I decided I was going to shave it off, I felt more excited to do that. Like, I felt excited about the possible like great future that I could have without this burden of constantly being in fear of someone finding out I was losing my hair, or just having to deal with that, having to think about that, having to like take pictures to see how fast it was. Is it falling out faster now? Like, is it looking worse? I just didn't want to deal with that anymore. You know, I didn't want to deal with that anymore. And like I said to you earlier, when I shaved it off, I had nothing left to hide anymore. I had nothing left to fear or hide. There was no ifs or buts, you know. I was a guy who was going bald, and now I shaved my head. Like, that's really just the facts, you know. There was nothing, I had nothing to be ashamed of, nothing to try and hide. I was like, it's like I'd chosen to put it on show. I'd chosen to like show everyone that was me, you know, and I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not in fear of you knowing that. And that feeling is so like empowering, you know. It feels so good to be able to do that, especially when you've come from a space of, I'm so terrified that someone's going to notice this, you know, to then be the same person, but now I'm showing you, like, now I want you to know this. And if anyone asks, like, I would tell them, and I would say, like, before, when I was trying to hide it, like, I felt terrible about myself, sad all the time, you know, and that's why I've done this. That added bit of them being able to tell them without any shame, without nothing to hide, it felt even better being able to do that. It really just made me realize, like, wow, like, you know, I'd been beating myself up and I wasn't giving myself enough credit, and I'm capable of way more than I thought I was, like 6 months before I kind of decided to do this. And that really like set me on a new path, and one that was even better than before. So that's why I did it. That's why I kind of chose to do that. And those were my thoughts going into it. And I was proud of myself, to be honest, you know, especially with all the kind of industry and society, whatever that word means, telling me like, you should be ashamed of this, you need to cover this up, this is embarrassing. I felt great going against that narrative, you know, and almost like take it, hey, if that's what it is, then I'm ready, I want to take on that challenge, you know, and I'm gonna do everything I want to do in spite of this apparent massive negative of losing my hair. I'm going to show myself, I'm going to show you I can do it, you know. And that really kept me going. That got me going in the start. And I think just recognizing all those things of not needing to worry about it anymore, really, it just like outweighed any possible negative of someone saying like, oh, you look better with, like, you know, 'cause someone might say like, oh, you look better with hair, you know. And I just say straight up, like, my hair was falling out like that. Yeah, like, fine, you know, I did, especially when I was like 16 or 18 and my hair was perfect. But the reality was, 2 months ago, before I shaved this off, like, I was balding at the back. I didn't have that perfect hair. And as a result of feeling so down about it all the time, I was no longer myself. I was no longer feeling good. So it doesn't really matter if it looked better. Like, I felt terrible during that time, you know, I felt awful. And which is more important, you know? So that's a big one for me, dude. That was a big one for me. And it felt great
Wow.
to share that with you. Yeah.